Welcome to They Come With Instructions podcast, where we share biblical principles for real life matters. I am your host, Renee Anderson. I am a mother, I'm a mentor, and a friend. I'm also the author of the book entitled the same, They Come With Instructions, Biblical Principles for Raising Children. Today, I am super excited because we have this beautiful young woman whose paths we crossed some years ago. And on more than one occasion, actually, it's really an interesting story. And she has a wealth of knowledge and experience that she's willing to share with us. And for that, I'm already appreciative because a lot of people don't want to share their personal business. So we just appreciate your generosity in that area already. Thank you. Welcome, Miss Antoinette Bingham to They Come With Instructions, the podcast. Um, so we talk a lot about single parenting. It's kind of like our mission to help parents, whether they're single or married, because parenting is hard, even with a partner, it's hard. And so we share a mutual friend,
Correct.
Shanae Beezer, now Turner, who was here with us, and we did an episode. And so tell me a little bit about you, Antoinette, kind of just whatever you're comfortable sharing with our listeners.
Well, I'm the same. A mom. I was single a long time with growing up with. I had 3 children, raising 3 children alone for a while. Got married and been married about 12 years now,
Wow.
and I have a stepson now. So, um, just I work, um, do a lot of. I used to be a skater. Now I'm just. I like to work out, exercise. That's mostly what I do.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely beautiful. And tell me about your 3 children. What are their? And then you mentioned a stepson, but what are the genders of your children?
Yeah, I have 2 sons and 1 daughter and 1 grandson now. Um, my son's 35, which is he's mentally ill with schizophrenia.
Hmm.
He lives home with me. Um, that's been a journey, finally being able to get him home to stay with me.
Yeah.
And I have another son that's 33. That's the one that has my grandson.
Hmm.
And then I have a daughter, which is 24.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a grandmother except me. Like I'm trying to get on my kids. Like, come on now, come on now. That's one of the areas that we spoke about, and we'll come back to your son with the mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
But we met some years ago. You guys, this is such an interesting story. You're not going to believe this. So my son, just like we were bused. We rode them big yellow buses
Right.
for many years, going to different schools, the magnet program, the what is it, permit with transportation, PWT program.
Yes.
And so these programs would take children from the inner cities and take them out to somewhat better schools because
Right.
they were in better communities. So I did it, and of course I thought it was effective, and so I wanted my kids to do it.
Right.
And so even though my kids didn't go as far, like I drove to I was going to Woodland Hills and El Camino, Rio Bell
Right. I
and
went
stuff
to
like that. But
Reseda.
so you
I told
understand
her
too, yes.
Reseda, yes.
So we were all doing it when we were coming up, and it was a good thing. I think it
Right. It
helped us.
was. Mm-hmm.
It helped us for sure. And kudos to bus drivers across America. Like, is there like a day to appreciate bus drivers? There is.
Yeah, they do have the days for that.
It is. I've
Yeah.
never heard of it.
Even some restaurants, they appreciate us and we can go in and get meals free for the day.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know what day it is? What date is it? Because we need to
I
highlight that.
never know the date really.
It just kind of comes upon
Yeah, they just start talking about it and.
because the responsibility that you all hold and carry every day, rain,
Mhm.
earthquakes, devastation, like it is such a huge responsibility. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to all bus drivers out there, because yeah, like I said, I rode that bus for many years. So my son rode the bus, and I don't know, I'm trying to think, should I tell my version first, or well, you tell me what you remember, because it's so interesting how it kind of came to be.
Well, I remember the version I remember. I had to. Someone threw something at my head while I'm driving, and I used to have a policy where I would have the students give me anonymous notes on things. People. They they said, "Oh yeah, so and so did it. Just send me an anonymous note." So they send me notes. I said at that time, I know I had a lot of students on the bus, at least 50. And when the notes came, all of them said one name on them. But this one particular note I got, it actually said other people. It was, saying it may have been two other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me say, okay, the person who they're saying it is, they wouldn't put their own name on there. So this has to be their note. So I actually wrote a citation and sent it home. And I guess when you got it, you were upset, about the citation.
Mm-hmm.
And you called a meeting with the school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when we got there, this meeting, I think it was like 3 days later or so,
Mm-hmm.
we got there and I just sat there and you went at me. You went at it. And I was just like, okay, listen. And so when they got to me, they was like, well, do you have something to say? And I said, well, I have these notes here, and I don't know if you know maybe your son's handwriting. And I handed it over to you, and you looked at it. Oh, and you was mad because I guess you knew his handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, that was the end of it, really, because, you were upset.
Yeah.
You took off work and everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
So same thing. He had actually gotten suspension. It was more than a citation.
oh,
He
was it a
suspended.
suspension?
Yeah, he was suspended
Okay.
off the bus. And so
I think that happened because he had another cite. Had he had any citations?
I don't remember. I
Okay.
don't remember. But even just the level of danger
Mm-hmm.
in throwing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it could have hit the front window. It was just so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And my son adamantly denied.
Yes.
And so I was like, and so when I said, well, why are you being suspended? And he's like, well, she suspended 3 of us. And I was like, and that may be okay, but no, if you weren't one of the 3,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to sit here and let
Correct.
you be suspended.
Right. We do want to defend our
Exactly.
children.
And
Yes.
that's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wasn't mad at you. I wanted to get to the bottom of how because according to my son, you were suspending more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't think that was fair. Like, no, let's get to the bottom of who it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm good mama. I'm going to defend my son, and I'm coordinating it because they wouldn't just let you and I meet. It had to have like the principal or somebody from the school had to be present.
Principal and my supervisor.
So it took a lot to coordinate.
You did.
All of us getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this little old booger, sat there and let all that be orchestrated to get me in this meeting.
Right.
And you told us about the notes. And so you were saying, and you read it. And I was like, well, can I see it? Because I just couldn't believe that not my son, this is the good son.
Yes.
This is the son that never really got in trouble or had problems.
Correct. I had one of those too. When I had to go in the office, it's like, I think when they get in middle school, they start getting around things, that we as parents don't see. And we're just, not my son. I don't think we think they're going to do this stuff.
Yep.
They're still our babies. So I had a lot of experience with that for middle school parents. A lot of times they just don't understand from elementary to junior high. They change a lot. And they're still sticking up for their child because they had to do it the whole time when they were in elementary.
Right.
So now they're in junior high and they're doing these things and we can't see it.
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
And that was definitely a rude awakening. And what happened after that, so as soon as I saw the note and I saw it was Jason's writing, I was just like thanking y'all for y'all's time. I apologize to have wasted everybody's time.
Right.
And to me, it was nothing else to talk about. That meeting was adjourned.
Right. Because you did leave fast.
I was like, it's no point in wasting anybody else's time.
Right. Uh-huh.
And Jason knew it because I told him that he was going to get his butt whooped that day.
Uh-huh.
And sure enough, because when you make them promises and you put them out there, you have to do it. Otherwise, they run all over you.
Right.
So sure enough, get him home. And I think he was in like the seventh grade, maybe seventh or eighth grade. I don't really remember. But
Right.
my thing was, however old you were, that's how many licks you got.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't do uncontrollable whoopings. It wasn't like just random, cussing and yelling. No, it was very orderly. We spoke about it. I explained why you were getting this whooping. One, because you ain't on the bus to be throwing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the danger that could have happened if that hairball, when them glass ones had hit that front window.
Mm-hmm.
And then three, you lied and wasted everybody's time to bring this together. And, so
Right.
you give them the talk, you give them the thing, the explanation of why they're getting in trouble. And now lay over. Turn over on your stomach so I can hit your behind because I don't want this to be, very
Right.
orderly, right? I'm just structured in this. And sure enough, by like that seventh or eighth lick, because now I'm using a belt, he turned and I don't know if he tried to grab the belt or something, but anyway, he got a lick kind of around his
Yeah.
arm. And he fair skinned like me, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So me being the good parent that I am, I write a note so he don't have to change clothes for PE the next day
Okay.
because he got this mark on
Sorry.
him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's not going to change and didn't think no more about it until I got a call. And they called me at school the next day and they said, you need to come to the school because your son passed out.
Mm.
And I was like, what do you
I do remember
mean?
something happened.
And
Yeah.
they said, yeah, they were playing on the field and I guess however they played, somebody knocked the wind out of him and he fainted.
Right.
And then because of that, they of course had to pull up his sleeve
Oh yeah.
and take his blood pressure and do all
Uh-huh.
this stuff. And that just started a whole nother level of saga.
Right.
He ended up being removed from my home
Okay.
and yeah, it was a whole thing, and I won't bore you with it, but it does make for an interesting story that I will share with my listeners at another time. But
Right.
trumped up, it just turned into a big thing. But God be glorified, it was resolved. But
That reminds me of a story with me, how things change over time. I had the same thing happen with me
really,
as a child. I was getting in trouble. I was getting a whooping,
really,
and it was not anything hard. It wasn't like beating or nothing. But my mom, she hit me, but the belt slipped and the buckle hit me.
oh,
So it left a mark on my face, and you could
oh.
see it was a buckle. The belt buckle.
Yeah.
But then she just explained that it was fine.
Are you kidding?
Right. It was nothing. She didn't have to go through the things you went through.
Yeah,
They asked me what happened. I told them, and it was fine. And they asked my mom. So back
yeah.
then, like you said, you didn't have to go through those
Our
things.
generation believed in whoopings and
Yeah.
corporal punishment. Before me, I think I
Yeah.
wasn't of that age, but they used to give SWATs
Oh yes.
in
At the
school
school.
and
Yes.
paddled us. Like there was a level of authority and punishment that you could get kind of on the spot.
Correct.
And there was value in it.
It was.
It was value in us knowing that whoopings was a consequence
Correct.
because you didn't want them.
Right.
But now it's like there are no real
No, about
consequences
anything.
about anything, and these kids just have no boundaries, no respect. It's certainly different
Right.
today. So,
Right.
and that was all changing. So I stood behind whoopings because they work for me. I don't stand behind beatings because there is a
Correct.
difference, and abuse.
Correct.
There's a difference.
Yes.
And that was pointed out when we ended up going to trial in court about all this stuff, that it wasn't abuse what my son experienced. And fortunately, I was found out guilty.
Correct.
But yeah, the generations were different. And
Right.
we would get whoopings and you would get one from the neighbor, you
Yeah.
could get one from at school, and then you were still gonna get one when you got home
Correct.
from mama and them. But mama's word and consequences carried something. So thank you for being here and sharing this story. And then, coincidentally enough,
Mm-hmm.
this same son who went on to do well in school, right? He I think we were at Palms Middle
Correct.
School then, and he went on to King Drew Medical Magnet. They have a very great
Nice.
high school graduation rate and high percentages of their students going to college. So he did really well. He got an academic scholarship into UCLA.
Great.
No debts, everything. Like them whoopings work.
Yeah, he was smart. He was. He was
He was
smart.
smart.
Yeah, he was smart.
He
Uh-huh.
was smart.
Uh-huh.
And he went on to do well, but something happened at college. And so you talked about, because I think that's worth noticing too, is how the kids change from these adorable little, sweet, little innocent things of kind of elementary school age, and then they transition to
Right.
kind of start being exposed to more
Yes.
in middle
Acting out.
school, junior high school, acting out. seeing other kids doing different things and feeling like they want to try them and sample them. And parents need to know that because sometimes we still have parents in denial that think their little honey bunny.
A lot. A lot of parents.
Yeah, and you guys probably see it more than I do firsthand, but parents really do need to be aware of that.
Yeah. So when I seen it, that's the reason with my children, they always say, "Mom, you never believe me." I said, "The reason why I don't believe you because I see it all the time." I said, I'm not trying not to believe you, but my thing is if the teacher knows your name, the bus driver knows your name, you're doing something. Because I have a lot of students on my bus, I do not know their names because they never get in trouble. But if you're in trouble all the time and they know your name, you're probably doing something.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
gotta.
what I always told my especially my daughter. She
Yeah,
always was in trouble. So I'm
yeah.
like, why do they know your name? Why does the teacher know your name?
That's a good point,
Mhm.
parents. So if the bus driver has to yell out and yell, Jason,
All the time. That means you in trouble all the time. Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
good to
And a
know.
lot of times we don't even tell the parents when they're in trouble on the bus. We basically keep talking to them. We are parents too on the bus. I'm still a parent. So it's, I think a lot of parents should know we're going to treat your children like we treat our own children. We are parents. We wouldn't want somebody to do that to our kids. So basically, I treat everybody on the bus like they're my, child.
Yeah.
I'm not going to scream and holler at them, you know, do anything to hurt them.
Yeah.
So basically, when I'm coming to the parent, I've been talking to them a lot of times
Yeah.
before I even come to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think we should be able to solve it, me and the student,
Mm-hmm.
and if we can't, then I'm going to talk to your parent.
And that's so good because it teaches the child opportunity to correct and then for them to take responsibility of their own actions.
Correct.
So by the time you get to the parent, you can say, no, I've given them plenty of chances, and things like that. And that's what it's about too. That's a chapter in my book talks about, we teach them, we train them, and then we remind them. Because those reminders will go on for a lifetime,
Right.
you know? And so it's good to have people like you who are parents,
Mm-hmm.
and care enough to really give those reminders.
Right.
Because we don't want to see our kids in trouble.
Right. Right.
We don't want to, see them end up in, and that's what I used to tell my boys too. Like, I'm going to whoop you today in an orderly manner so that you can learn consequences because I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you 10 years later to be down beat in the street by some cop or police
Correct.
who won't beat you or whoop you and spare you because of your tears or care.
Correct.
So receive this whooping and correction today so you can learn the lesson and never have to be encountered and beat by the law,
Right.
later on. So thank you for those lessons. And especially dealing in LA traffic. It's that
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself is enough to cause trauma. Like so for y'all to have to contend with and then to
Yeah.
have to deal with noisy kids and stuff. So before we start talking about your son, do you have like any stories, funny or not so funny, like story that, besides the one with my son of just how kids kind of act up or things that have happened that you want to share that, another incident maybe where a parent was like in denial or something?
Yes, I have. It happens. It happens to be the same school, the same year.
Really?
Yes, and actually, one of his friends.
That's so funny.
Yes, they hung out together, but her mom. When you come to the bus stop, we're going a certain direction. You're supposed to park on the side that the bus stops on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents like to park across the street.
Mm-hmm.
If you park across the street, that means I'm obligated to get out the bus and cross them myself, not just the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So this parent, we told her to be on this side of the street because it slows down the route in the morning if I have to get out to go cross your child. And you're in the car, you could just be on this side.
Mm-hmm.
So she just wouldn't do it. She would not do it. And what was bad about it is when we leave, she actually turns around the car and goes that direction.
No way.
Yeah, so she got a citation for it. I think I gave her 3. So another time the assistant supervisor was covering my route, she did it. So the assistant supervisor wrote her up. So now this is the 4th time. So she writes a letter over to someone higher up and says that, there's nowhere for her to park on that side of the street. And we shouldn't be giving her those citations. So one morning when I drove up, he's out there, the supervisor, and he sees there's plenty of parking on that side of the street. So he tells her, like, well, she's like, well, it's not like this every day. So they started coming out all the time and seeing there's parking over there. And she just, I don't know, it was just so hard for her just to do what we wanted her to do.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do it.
That's so sad. A waste of the supervisor's time, a
Yeah.
waste of, all the times to come out there just because you
Don't want to do what the rules say.
yeah, just don't want to comply.
Right.
I speak with a lot of people who work in education, and they encounter that from parents sometimes too, and you call to report little Johnny misbehaving, and well, the conversation turns around to, well, what did you say to him? Which may be an adequate question to ask, but not in an accusatory manner. Like receive the information. Everybody's not out to get little Johnny.
Right.
But sometimes little Johnny's behavior is that of his parents. It's just non-compliant.
Correct.
Isn't that sad? That's so sad. I'm sorry you guys have to experience that. That wasn't my intent. I really just didn't want my son to be suspended if it wasn't him.
Right.
And his little note said, me and I can't think of the little girl's name, but whoever it was, me and so was playing with the hairball. I just was so mad. Like, here, man, I'm sorry.
You remember the note better than me.
I do.
I just remember that was my policy to have them write notes, and it worked out good.
That's good. Yeah, that was really good. Tara tore a little piece of paper off and his little handwriting. I was like, this boy, like, did you? And he ought to know me. Like, he know I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. I'm gonna ask questions, and maybe he just didn't think I don't know what he thought. These crazy kids.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand. If I know my parent is gonna go after whoever, I probably would back up and just tell the truth. Like, you know what, Mom, I did this.
Yeah.
But they don't.
They don't. They don't. And I think it was 7th grade because he was really smelling himself. He was really like, yeah, he had already been grounded. His phone, like, they didn't have phones at the time, but the little, it was one of them little handheld games that had already kind of been taken from him. And I was like, if you get in trouble one more time, anybody call me, you gonna get it. Like, the school year just starting and you done gotten in trouble. I was like, you got one more time. So I think it was just that whole transition of him thinking he's grown and all that stuff. So here we are. He gets to college, and it was probably the 3rd year of college that I noticed a big difference. And it started with him saying things like, because he was really into social media, and he would say things like, Beyonce responded to my post.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny, like, boy, what? Or not Michelle, but the other one. I can't even think. Kelly.
Oh, Kelly.
Kelly winked at me, and I was like, 3 million people done looked at this post, so technically she's winking at 3 million people. I was like, boy, ain't nobody, I'm as much as I can without saying, that's crazy or you're crazy. Like, these people are not personalizing their messages to you.
Correct.
And so, and then he got on academic probation. And I was like, boy, you done got these scholarships, this full ride. You better leave UCLA with a degree. I don't care what you got to do, pull it together. Don't waste this opportunity. And so he worked with his counselors and got on course and managed to graduate. And then it kind of got worse, where we would see things where he wouldn't bathe or he wouldn't shower. And I was like, that's odd. What is that about? Like, what are you going through? And then I told him, he was still on my benefits at the time, go to see a therapist. Like, something's going on, go see a therapist. Now, because he was a young adult, I couldn't go to the appointment with him to really navigate it. But he went, and I told him, make sure you tell them about Beyonce and them talking to you on the messages. Like, share that with the counselor. Because I wanted at least the person to be able to give him some type of rationale to help him reason how and why that wasn't working. So he came back and, what was the story? What did they say? They told me to stop smoking weed. By now I know he's smoking weed. And, she said it's messing up my brain development and that I should stop.
Correct.
And I was like, that was very good advice, and you should, And then that was another thing too. My kids were like church kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to now be off at college after God done blessed you with this full ride scholarship and you're turning into this young adult that is different from the child you were raised to be, that's hard and a different transition. But long story short, he continued to demonstrate these weird conversations.
Correct.
And he had gone to the therapist, but of course, as an adult, I can't make him do anything. I gotten him a job. He would come late. He ended up getting fired from this job
Yes.
because he just, his hygiene, his just ability to follow tasks through
Mm-hmm.
is so now he's so different from the person that went off to college, who was disciplined, did his homework, just, and I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? He lost his job, and then the pandemic happened, which was devastating for many of us.
Right.
But what I noticed was his occasional marijuana use, where he might just use it in the evening. He began to use it all day,
Mm-hmm.
just throughout the day,
Right.
and more he declined. He was living with my mom, just so many things. He was just living in filth, where that wasn't normal either.
Right.
And so many things began to happen until my mom had to put him out, and then he began to live in his car. And one of his friends from college, he went to go visit, called me, and this friend is now a medical student at UCLA. And he says, Miss Anderson, you have a minute? Can I talk with you? And Jason is there,
Mm-hmm.
but his friend leaves the room, and he's like, something's wrong with Jason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, Jason really needs help. And I was like, I think so too, but I can't make him get it. Like, I don't know what it is. I can't make him go to the doctor. And anyway, me and this young man decided to if we could get Jason to UCLA where his friend worked, we could get him tested, and they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. And boy, was Jason mad at us because they did a 72-hour hold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get mad for that.
Ooh,
Like
he called, oh yeah, he called me and he was cussing and he was saying all kind of things my little angel Jason would have never said to his mother.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it spoke to the degree of mental capacity where he was in. And they labeled it as psychosis,
Mm-hmm.
a psychotic episode. And all these grandiose thoughts of all these people reaching out to him on social media and other symptoms, but they described it as an episode. And if he stopped smoking and took medication, and he has grown worse and worse and worse. And now he lives on the street because when I did allow him to live in my home, he threatened to kill his brother or put holes in the wall. Something triggered him, and just all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which is then again how somewhere throughout this process, some years ago, our mutual friend Shanae shared with me that you were experiencing similar things. Would you share with us kind of
Yes.
your journey?
Everything you said, this is so funny. A lot of parents, we don't see what's going on. And every single thing you said is the same thing that I experienced with my son. Him, when I first found out, he always said he was God. That's what he would say to me. Oh, I'm God. I'm God. I'm like, what do you mean you're God? And he was saying, well, this is how they do it. This how they do it in the system. And I kept saying the system. I'm like, why do you keep saying the system? And so I started doing research, and I realized a lot of schizophrenics, they say the word system for some reason. I don't know why they use that word. And far as my son with internet, he didn't really look at the internet. But at the time, he didn't want pictures. He would not take pictures. He didn't want cameras. He said that somebody's watching him through the cameras, or they're looking at him and they're following his every move. That was one of the situations that really led me to know that something's not right. And he did a lot of stuff just really, really weird. Um, he
About how old was he when you first started noticing?
he was 15
Oh, really?
at the time because he got in trouble at school. And so that's how it really started. And actually, at his school that he went to, they had a program where he can work. That reminds me of what you said about work. They had a program where he can go in and work. And they paid them. It was only for one semester. They would go work at the mall or whatever. And he was doing fine at first. And then the supervisor started calling and saying, oh, he won't listen. He doesn't. We'll tell him to do something, and he does it for a minute, and he stops and he goes and does something else. So he wasn't staying focused on the job that he was supposed to do. So to this day, he still can't function as, like work. He doesn't work at all. And the thing with your son and my son is it's weird because your son is a high functional. He's very high functional. That's a problem I had. My son was not high functional, but he knew how to get out of trouble. He knows what's going to happen when he gets in trouble. So when the police or someone comes, that's the main thing he'll say. Oh, I didn't take my medicine, because he knows he doesn't want to go on a 72-hour hold, because he knows that's what's going to happen. And one of the things that happened with him, he called the police on me and my husband. He just went outside. This is when I first moved him with me, because he didn't live with me for a lot of years. He actually lived in his own apartment but I would go over there and clean up and do everything I had to do. But it was more like a 14 or 15-year-old living by themselves. It's like he couldn't handle everything. I had to go over there every single day. And what happened is we finally moved him out of this apartment because someone else started trying to stay in his apartment. So we ended up moving him with us. And I was kind of nervous about doing that because he really never knew where I lived, because he was the type that would come just bang on the door and bother you in the middle of the night. He doesn't have a sense of timing. And when you mentioned baths, he used to be one that took a bath, like showered constantly. He would never use the same bar of soap. He has to use a different bar, and he showered constantly. My water bill used to be so high, and I used to be like, what am I going to do? Fast forward to today, I can't get him to take a shower. I have to come up with ways to get him to take a shower. So he doesn't do it. He just lets his hair grow. So anyway, when he called the police on us, we didn't know he called the police. He kept coming through the house talking about, oh, I got to go outside. And we're like, what is he talking about? So we see him outside. He runs outside. He starts talking to the police. So they're talking to him. We're just standing at the door like, okay, what happened? So after he talks to them, they come to us and they say, oh, yeah, well, he called the police on you, and he said that you guys cut his private parts off. He's like, what? And he was like, we can clearly see that didn't happen. So we're thinking that maybe he needs to go, on a hold or something. I said, yeah, he do, because we don't. I said, and I told the police, we didn't even know he called you guys like that. And he was like, oh, okay. So anyway, they took him in. He did this hold, and he calls me up. Mom, can you come get me? I was like, yeah, I'll come get you. So I come get him. He says, I noticed every time I call the police on you, they take me. That's what he said. So to this day, he has never called the police. Because he's older, that he has never called the police again since he said that. So I said, so it's so funny the things that we experience with him, though. Yeah. And I can remember when I first found out, I was just driving down the street and I cried so hard. I had to just pull over. I couldn't even, I couldn't drive, because it's like devastating to know something's wrong with your child, So
I'm sorry, because I experienced that same thing. It feels unfair.
Right.
It feels like you do all you can and you to be a good mom. And there's so many people out there who neglect their kids and they fine. Everybody fine. But you really try to make the sacrifices and make them a priority. And then these things happen. Right. One of the things, because I haven't had a diagnosis since that 72-hour hold, so I don't know if it's schizophrenia, and I just rely on kind of the things that you say and the similarities that I hear to believe that maybe it is, because he does a lot of, he has a lot of aliases, names.
My son too.
Yeah. I'll get 30 emails a day from him, and 15 of them are different names.
Correct.
He creates these different email accounts, different names, and
people.
Different people. He does talk a lot about God, and I didn't know that was like a piece of it. Like that's news to me now, because I just thought, because he was so raised in the church, I thought that was just him. Between the the torment of like being kind of who he is and knowing how he was raised and dealing with the demons
Yeah.
and the spirits that are other in his mind. And so to hear that that is just kind of, yeah, a part of like maybe some symptoms
Correct.
is interesting. I'm always learning.
My son was originally diagnosed wrong to me because I had to have him do it again. He was diagnosed with bipolar at first. So I kept saying bipolar, that means he just would be moody sometimes from what I read, you know. But when you're hearing voices and you're, like you said, he has different. My son, just the other night, he'll scream something. And he doesn't call me mom. He does not like to call me mom. He'll just say my name. He'll scream it, and I'll say, "Well, I'm not going to answer you because you're not calling me mom. I'm your mom." And he was like, "That wasn't even me calling you." You know, that's what he'll say all the time. Like anything he does, and I'll say, well, sometimes he's aggressive, like you said. He wants to hit stuff, so he'll say, I'll say, "Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? That wasn't me." And he'll just change all of a sudden. That was not me. That was, whoever he is at the time, So, and it's really something to deal with.
It is.
Yeah. And with my son, luckily, he's not a violent schizophrenic, but I'm still very careful because from experiences and things that I've seen, most of the time, even the situation you just said about him saying he's going to do something to his brother, most of the time schizophrenics, when you see they killed their parents and stuff, a lot of times they're schizophrenics. So they seem to hurt the people they love the most, And I know me as a mom, I feel proud, to still have my son at 35 years old here with me because a lot of them they're on the streets. They're hard to deal with. So I think the level of my son's schizophrenic is causing me to be able to keep him with me because I come up with different ways to, I would say manipulate. That's what I do. Manipulate him into doing the right things. They don't like to take medication. So that wasn't working. So finally when they came up with the shots, they had a shot where it can go for a month. It does wear on and off during the month, so you will have some violent episodes, and then most of the time they're pretty good. So he was doing that, and then he went to the 3 months. That's what we've been doing, I think, the last 12 years, is we do the 3-month shots, but I do have a problem getting him to go.
I was going to ask.
Because it wears off, and at that time, he doesn't want to go. So I usually tell him, if it's something I know he wants, I'll tell him I'll get it if he goes and does, does the shot. So that's the way I've been able to keep him focused right now.
Yeah, my son won't go. When I would ask for help from the county, they said, well, as long as he's not a threat to himself or anybody else, there's nothing they can do. And I was like, I feel like the system is broken because I'm like, y'all told me that as long as he's not a threat to himself or somebody else, well, I have proof that he's threatened. It's so frustrating. You feel so helpless. My feelings, I have to really compartmentalize, right? So that I don't feel with the guilt that tries to come upon me because my son is living out in the street. Like, a piece of me, of course, I want him in my home. I want to know he's safe where he is, that he's warm, when it's cold outside, or that, he's cool when it's burning up hot outside. Like, I want to have my hands on him. But the other piece of me is like, well, I have these other sons. How do you recover if something actually happens because he's there?
Yes, that brings me to a point of when you said you had to go to court and stuff. I had the same situation, not your situation, but they took him and put him in foster care, the same situation. And I don't know what ended up happening. They ended up taking him and putting him in jail. He was in jail. He was in a mental health ward. But in a mental health ward, he can only be in there a certain amount of time because they realized he's not even here on any charges, right? The judge actually called. She said, you need to get here. We're having court. You were supposed to pick your son up from here because he has no reason to be here. You were supposed to pick him up. And I was like, okay, when I get off, I'm going to come, up. So I came to court. When I got there, they were officers, social workers. There were so many people in that courtroom when I walked in there. And the judge tells me, we're going to file abandonment charges on you because you did not pick your son up from this facility. So I said, well, I was told that they were going to put him in foster care. They were going to find him placement when he comes back. So apparently they didn't find him placement. She says, well, you need to take him. I said, I'm not taking him. And they're saying, well, we're going to file abandonment charges. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to take abandonment charges because I have other kids at home that I need to protect. So you can't tell me that I have to take someone and I have other kids to protect. So whatever charges you're going to put on me is going to be because I'm protecting my other kids. So they was looking like, okay. So when we walked out, the lawyer, he was like, well, you know what, you're right. So they're going to have to figure that out because they can't just put him there knowing you have other children you're trying to protect. So when social services came, she says, we're going to put him in foster care voluntarily because you are trying to protect your other children. So that's how it ended up going, so. But I was kind of nervous, like they going to put charges on me for trying to protect. I said, but I was strong. I'm like, I'm going to stick with worrying about my other two kids because they were scared of him. They were scared of him. There's been times when he comes, we found a gun in his backpack. It was a BB gun, but they look real. So I really didn't know it was a BB gun. And, so when the police came, they were like I said, he knows how to talk when they get there. So, but if they're there long enough, they know something's wrong. But he can talk good for about, I'll say 15 minutes. So a lot of times I couldn't get services for him. Wow. And it's so sad because mental ill people, that's why we have so many on the streets. We don't have a lot of services. They give the services for, they have the regional center is for people with, the regional center only supports 3 spina bifida. If you're born with a disorder, then that's who they help. They don't help these, our people. Our kids, like my son, I know growing up, he was a slow learner. We have a lot of kids that's slow learners, but we have nothing in place for the slow learners. So what happens is, I think, in my opinion, they start to sometimes fall behind, and then that makes their behavior be bad, or they're trying to keep up with everything. And he would keep up, but it was hard. It was harder for him than normal, So I think that's what caused him to start acting out a lot more in school, and
they're frustrated, they're angry.
Right.
Because the one thing our system will do is slap a label on you.
And then the thing you pointed out about the weed. So my son, he started smoking weed at that age, and it seemed like that's when everything got worse. And the reason why he started smoking weed, somebody told him, because he stuttered really, really bad as a child. Man, you smoke some weed, you're not going to stutter.
It's going to cure you.
Guess what? It did.
What?
He doesn't stutter to this day. He does not stutter because it slows down everything. But slowing down too much stuff, it did stop him from stuttering. So I think that's why he has a problem with not doing it. So he just constantly, that's what he want to do all day long. He wants to try to get weed, and it's not good for him. It's in his state, it's not something good for them to have.
Right.
But yeah,
I was going to ask you if that played a part.
I really feel it does. And that's the first thing you'll hear somebody say is, weed doesn't do that. They have something else. Okay, I don't know what they're getting, but maybe they're putting something in the weed. How do you know what you're smoking? Like, why would you?
Is the weed, the marijuana from the 70s and 80s, 90s, when we were coming up, you had a dope man, a weed man, you bought your nickel bag, your dime bag, whatever that was, it only had about 2 to 4% THC.
Okay.
And THC is the chemical that gives you the high. So you're smoking that, it's natural, it gives you the high, your little buzz, and we didn't see all these mental illness and episodes.
Correct.
Fast forward to today, where THC, the chemical, is created and distributed legally, right, in these dispensaries.
Mm.
And so it's gone from like 2 to 4, maybe 5% THC to now it's 10, 20, 80, sometimes 90% THC
Mhm.
in edibles, certain vaping. Like
Mhm.
they have increased the level of THC that is not being regulated.
Right.
And now we're seeing the results of it. It wasn't studied. It
Mhm.
wasn't, and even if it's FDA approved, like no one considered the consequences of having that much chemical go to your brain with that much THC. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. The
Right.
small dose of the THC where people had a little high, you felt fine, but now the results, and it's leading to these very things: anxiety, depression, in some cases, as a result of the high THC dosage,
Mhm.
other mental illnesses. And people don't want to society who doesn't deal with it, and people who smoke weed maybe recreationally and
Right.
haven't experienced it in those high dosage, who still wants to defend that there's nothing wrong with it, they don't want to accept that it really is causing mental illness, especially in our younger people.
Correct. And they have to also understand, when we were growing up, the thing they would say is when you would have a baby that was on crack. Okay, the babies were on crack, they were born on crack, and then they were hard to deal with. But it came from the mother
Mm-hmm.
or the
Parent.
parent is where it came from. I really believe the same thing has happened with weed
Mm-hmm.
because I don't smoke, but his dad smoked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really look at what's going on, I know a lot of parents that smoke weed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any problems with their kids
Mm-hmm.
until their kids start smoking weed again.
Mm-hmm.
Like my son, it's the same thing. That's what they used to say back in the day
Mm-hmm.
with crack babies.
Mm-hmm.
Once they grow up, if they get a taste of
One.
that crack, it's back.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be the same thing with the weed to me, to tell you the truth,
Yeah.
because my son was fine far as mentally ill to me until he
He.
started smoking that weed.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
probably something that doesn't agree with his system because it was in his system, before he was born.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
I'm not a professional, but it's
right,
just
no, but we have to study, and these are the things that we
yeah,
have
they're
to
not
consider
right.
because we don't know. We
Right.
don't know. And um, what was said to me is that schizophrenia in young men kind of only really exposes itself
Later
between the
on.
ages of like 21 and 24.
Mhm.
And so I offered then
He's younger now.
exactly, your
Mhm.
son was younger
Mhm.
than that.
Yes.
My son might have been within those ages, but again, there was nothing. And I never smoked weed.
Mhm.
His father, to my knowledge, never really smoked weed.
Okay.
So it was really just his excessive, abusive, constant use of it during the pandemic that I think has really just kind of pushed him over.
Escalated. Mhm.
Yeah, that has kind of propelled him into what we see today. And if you saw him today compared to his little, you know, college graduate picture
Mhm.
to this transient, like looking
Mhm.
young man, it really could, break my heart.
Me too. I have the same situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hurting. And so we offer these conversations to help other mothers, right?
Mhm.
Because one, we don't want to be in denial.
Right.
Two, we want to get as much help for our kids as possible and have these conversations with your kids before they start using. Like we can't wait to have these conversations to then try to convince them not to,
Correct.
right? But talk
It's late.
openly with your kids about using drugs, even marijuana, even as innocent and harmless as people want to say that it is not harmless. There are raging ramifications that come from the use, especially from these dispensaries
Correct.
and the higher dosages of that
Right.
THC. So we have to have the conversations. Preventive. What is that expression? An ounce of prevention
And
is
it's harder for us to do it because they made it legal.
right.
With us, we was kind of scared because it was illegal.
Right,
It was like,
right,
oh, I can't do that. I'm gonna get in trouble.
right.
But with it being legal, they just feel like it's fine.
It's fine.
I went to the mall the other day, and a girl drove up in her car. I could have been high just just from her driving up
Yeah.
because it was just coming out of the car. And I'm thinking like they don't even. I understand it's legal, but you're not supposed to be smoking and driving. And you see it all the time. They're getting themselves in trouble just by doing that. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's so sad. It's so sad. And it makes it hard for parents who, want the best for your kids, but society presents a message that's so much louder.
Correct.
It's not a better message. It just dominates them more than, the voice that we
Right.
have
The parenting
and
we're
the
giving.
parenting, yeah,
Yes.
that we're giving. So you have to kind of start early, start young, and don't be afraid to set the parameters and the boundaries for your home, that really is going to make it hard for your child. Don't make it convenient for your child.
Right.
Don't be that parent that thinks, well, at least I'm going to let him smoke with me and at least I know what he's doing. Don't do that. That's not good parenting. It's certainly not biblical parenting,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not good parenting. So set those boundaries, have open conversations, talk to your kids about it, share my story, share Miss Antoinette's story, because what you're doing and the sacrifices that you're making, like a piece of me is envious. Like I wish I had it in me, but I know everybody's struggle, everybody's capacity
Right.
is different. So
Right.
I'm not going to beat myself up because I'm not able to extend and do all the things that you're doing for your son. But kudos to you. Kudos to you
Yes.
for the sacrifices that you are making, for the manipulation and the tricking, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
but for whatever you're doing for the sacrifice
And keep him off the streets.
to keep him off the streets.
Yes.
To keep him off the streets. Now, tell me about the relationship between that son and the other siblings today. Is there a relationship? How has it impacted your family?
Yes, they he's the oldest, and I guess he used to always beat the younger one up, and but the younger one got bigger
Mm,
and he started fighting back.
mm,
So I remember one day, that was at the time around, I'll say about 17. And
mm,
that other one now, he's 15. And
mm,
he wasn't playing with him. I looked outside, he was chasing him down the street. And ever since then, he doesn't mess with his brother.
mhm,
Not at all.
mhm,
He has a lot of respect for his brother because his brother don't play with him. And the far as his sister, she's younger. She's strict on him too. She
mhm.
does the same thing. Like she doesn't just take mess from him.
Yeah.
So the relationships are good. I still feel like my son, he's still like a 16-year-old in mind.
Mhm.
So that's I think that's why the other siblings can deal with him. They understand.
Yeah. One of the
They understand.
things about drug abuse and drug use
Hmm.
is that when you start using drugs, it impacts your emotional intelligence and your mental capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So from the age you start using, you're kind of stuck there, right?
Right.
And so people who have abused, people who have been on drugs for long periods of time, even when they try to stop using or they try to go through recovery, they still now have to catch up because you might be 35 or you might be 53, but emotionally and mentally and psychologically, you're still stuck at 15 because that's when you started
Right.
using drugs and it impacts your development.
Correct.
It impacts your
And
development.
that's what he remembers the most. Like if you really talk to my son, he's always talking about things that happened when he were younger, when he was
Mhm,
younger.
mhm,
He loves to go to Disneyland, amusement parks. That was one thing I used to do with my children when they were younger. I would in the summertime I would set up things we can do, and that was the things we did every summer. About three amusement park, beach, things like that.
mhm,
And to this day, that's what he always says. That's how I can get him to do a lot of things that he wants to
mhm,
do. And
mm,
I'm like he doesn't like to cut his hair.
mhm.
So if I tell him, oh, now it's time for you to cut your hair, um, the only way I can get him to do it is if I tell him I'm taking him to Disneyland. Because I'll be like, oh, you can't go with me looking like that. Oh, I'll cut it. We can cut it right now. So he that's the thing. He loves things from the past when he was younger.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. One thing I want to mention because I have his older brother, my son's older brother. because he hasn't been around him for like some years and they're not as close and they, went off to college and kind of, is that he really doesn't believe that it's mental illness.
Right.
Because like what
The
you
older
said, if
brother.
the older brother doesn't
Okay.
really believe that it's mental illness for his younger brother,
Mm-hmm.
or he struggles with it. I think
Right.
because the fact that he's living out on the street and he's making that choice
Mm-hmm.
to live out on the street rather than, something's, there's a level of insanity, even if it's not mental illness.
Right.
There's something there. But like you said, you weren't able to get the resources because of how they can engage kind of normally
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you talk to them long enough,
You'll see it.
you'll see it and you can't ignore that. So I think that's kind of what I want to offer to any parent that's listening. And I'm going to ask you, what is your piece of advice for any parent? But that's what I want to offer is to parents and family members, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, is believe and offer support to the parent that is questioning or has concern about their child. Like, don't make it difficult. It's hard enough to deal with the emotions and the feelings that I'm confronting internally, that when I take or I have the courage to come and share it with you, please don't question my mentality
Mm-hmm.
and act like something's wrong with me because you don't believe or you don't see what I see in my child or in my loved one.
Right.
Like, put down those defenses, have a listening ear, show compassion, and be willing to support in whatever manner you're capable of and you're willing to, because it really does take a village. It's not easy.
Right.
So kudos to your husband and your village and your circle
Mm-hmm.
that has supported you for over 20 years now. That's a long time.
Right.
What piece of advice, what encouragement would you offer to a parent or family member that's dealing with a diagnosis that you're dealing with? And when you get that piece of news, what can we do to help?
I think that we need to still stick by them. That's the hardest thing to do, but all we can do is still stick by them because they have nobody but you. So they get out on the streets. They don't have these people don't care about them like you do. So you should still stick by them. I have another young lady I know. I used to work with. I'm going through the same thing with her daughter, and she used to. What I loved about her, no matter what, even if her daughter's on the streets, she go out there and find her.
Mm-hmm.
She go check on her.
Mm-hmm.
She always made sure she was okay. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we need to do as parents. Just pay attention. Try to come up with ways to figure them out or understand it because it's very hard to understand. But we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do that because my son emails me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll email him back, "Where are you?"
Right.
And track him down and take a change of clothes and
Right.
go sit with him and have some dinner somewhere and just
Right.
just let him know that he's not forgotten,
Correct.
he's not alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here for him when he's ready to receive help.
Correct. I think that's the best thing to do
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes something may click in them and be like, you know what, this is not working for me. Because I've had other people say, this is not working. Something's not right. So you let them. I have a nephew, same situation where his mom, she's really, she's doing the same thing I'm doing. She's doing really, really good with her son, and I'm glad to see her sticking in there the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a lot of parents we don't stick in there. You see this and you just put him out and you let him go. He's grown, but no, he has issues. He's not really not doesn't need to be alone.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I really do, because my thing is, when he went off to college, he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
When he became an adult, he was fine.
Right.
And so I don't want to take on the consequences of his choices. Like, that's not fair to me after 17 years of single parenting and
Mm-hmm.
putting them first and making these sacrifices to get them grown and in one piece. And now to take on the sacrifices or the consequences of his choices, it really is a struggle. But I remain true to my own capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give myself, guilt. If today
No.
I can, and I'm going to track him down, and I got to deal with the heavy heart,
Right.
leaving him and walking behind, because that's, I don't wish that on any mother,
Right.
to have to walk away from your child out on the street, not knowing where they're going to sleep that night. And
Correct.
so I can't do it. I can't even do it as often as I would like to do it because I know at the end of that day, my son's not going to come home.
Right. Right.
He's not going to come home with me.
Right.
Woo.
Yes.
And they don't write a book
Right.
on how to deal with that. They don't, it's a lot. It's so much more than, it's so much more than goes beyond just getting them grown to 18.
Correct. It is.
It is. And so I celebrate you for the choice that you make, but I don't hold any guilt or shame for the
No,
choices that I
you're
make.
doing good. You're
You know
doing
what
the
I
best you
mean?
can. Yes.
And I'm doing what I know I can do
Right.
and what is within my convictions.
Correct.
Because they're all grown. So even though, the other kids in my house, they're not children,
Right.
but I still don't want to have any of us
Mm-hmm.
living in that
Danger.
fear
Yes.
of
Scared.
and scared
Yes.
and sleeping with one eye open. Like that's
Right.
not what home is supposed to be.
Correct. Yes.
It's not what home
And
is.
that's what my son would do. He'll walk up and down the hall he doesn't know time.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks it's daytime when it's nighttime. He doesn't have a sense of time.
It's
So
interesting you say that.
yeah, he can walk right through the hall. I've gotten up at 2:00 in the morning and he walking down the hall. I'm like, what? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just because he doesn't know. It's-
See, I didn't even know that. Like I'm still learning so much because I'll get up sometime and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the TV is on.
right.
And I'm like, what are you doing up? Like, turn that TV off and go to bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just didn't even.
You don't know.
Yeah,
No,
that's
you
so
don't.
interesting. I thought it was just he wanted the house to himself, maybe, or, I don't know. But maybe that's something to even.
Yeah, my son, he does that. His TV's on always through the middle of the night. Unless he's just tired, he might turn it off. But most of the time, he's in there. Sometimes at 1:00 in the morning, he might come around and knock on my door. Like in my house, he'll come around like, what? Do you know it's 1:00 in the morning? Oh, I didn't know that. Then he'll leave. So,
Yikes!
yeah.
Yikes! Thank you so much, Antoinette. This is definitely a conversation that will continue because as mothers begin to recognize and learn and put things together, like we'll need to have more conversations and offer as much help as we can. We'll do more research. We'll have more professionals here,
Correct.
right? And offer these conversations. But I feel led to have a word of prayer for mothers or parents, whoever is kind of confronting this, because it's not easy. And um, our hope, our faith, our trust is in the Lord Jesus Christ, our Creator, who knows our children better than we know them.
Yes.
And He knows what it takes to get them whole and healthy and restored. And even though we can hear a diagnosis, we can get a prognosis, my faith and my trust isn't in that. It's knowledge, it's information,
Correct.
and it helps me know where to target my prayers.
Right.
That God will deliver and God will hear. So we're going to offer that for our parents. And so just right now, Father God, in the name of Jesus, we come to you because you are our source. Everything else is a resource. So we thank you for the information. We thank you for our doctors. We thank you for the mental health professionals that give us this information. But you, Lord, are our creator and you are our Father. And we know that you do not make a mistake.
Amen.
So even as we confront these issues, this issue of mental illness, we lift our children to you right now. You see them and you know them and you love them even more than we do. And we ask right now that you would send healing virtue. God, you have the ability to speak one word that would restore them. And God, coming up in the church, I heard all my life that you are a heart fixer and a mind regulator. And so I trust you to be a mind regulator and heal my son and restore him back to himself better than he was before. And I lift every parent. I lift Antoinette. I lift her children to you now and ask that you continue to encourage her, strengthen them. Every mother, every father that's under the sound of my voice that's dealing with a child with a diagnosis of any type of mental condition, God, be their strength, be there for them and minister to them, God, when their hearts are overwhelmed. God, we know that we can go to a rock that is higher than us, and you are our rock. Be our strength, be our portion, and keep us as we continue to learn and grow about these conditions that have attached themselves to our children. We know that you can heal, and we trust you, and our faith is in you. Be our strength. We bind every feeling of guilt. We bind every feeling of anything that the enemy would use and come to put in our minds that we're failing or we're doing something wrong. We bind and we cast those thoughts out of our mind to go back to the dark, dry place from whence they came. And we loose the peace of God, the freedom of God, the love of God to saturate and minister to each and every one of us right now in Jesus' name. And we thank you for it. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. To you, my viewing and listening audience, thank you for joining. I know that you have been blessed by the information and the stories that were shared today. If you have anything that you would like us to talk about on this platform, email me. Send me an email at tcwi@reneeandersonwritings.com. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. And please like this information. Thank you to my guests. And until next time, love and blessings.